Welcome to the clubhouse. My name is Alice and I'm so glad you could join us. As some of you may know, in addition to our hosting workshops here on Summer Avenue, we also have a little retail store way over there, you know, the other side of the room. We built our store to show off and sell the fun stickers and pint glasses, patches, and t-shirts we design and make in our print shop. We use a special screen printing process called discharge printing in our shop to print our t-shirts. And it's why they're so very soft. The only real bummer about printing this way is that if we make a mistake, there's not really any way to fix it. And what a bummer it is. Here we have this super soft shirt with an awesome design that we just came up with, but it's got this flaw that we just can't see past. The amount of waste isn't terrible on any given run, but when you print as many shirts as we do, they really start to add up. Sooner than later, we have quite a pile. Turns out I opened my studio door and looked to the left instead of to the right, and I noticed that I have a ton of t-shirts that didn't make the grade, just waiting on me to give them a new life. And I bet you do too. You know the ones, that dinosaur drinking a margarita, your favorite ex-girlfriend's terrible punk bands, the one your mom got you at Liberty Land with your name airbrushed in Old English on the back. How much would you love to be able to rock those again? Well, I'm going to show you a fun way to bring them back into the rotation, just in time for summer. May I present to you, t-shirt transformations. Check it out, y'all. This really works great on those big unisex tees that they give away at the club in that oh-so-form-fitting men's XO. You can really do some fun stuff to change them into something that will both accommodate those curves and advertise that barbecue fest team. Today, I'm going to show you 2 ways you can cut them to make them wearable. And you're really going to like this. You don't need a sewing machine to do any of these mods. Here's what you will need. T-shirts, of course, sharp scissors, ruler or straight edge, hanger, clothespins, or binder clips. All right, y'all, let's get into it. So our first step is to smooth the shirt, getting out all the wrinkles with my hands. If it has seams on the sides, I like to make sure that those are straight. Tugging a little on your shirt can help. The more time you spend laying your t-shirt out, the nicer your cuts will be. So we'll do a little bit here. I'm going to take that seam and try and align it from pit to bottom hem. And the seam at the top. And then fold those together nicely. So your goal is to make those, scooch these up a little. Your goal is to make those sides line up nicely while also smoothing all the wrinkles in the interior of your shirt. So you want the print facing out while you make your cuts. So you'll want to make sure that you have that up. And then we're going to fold down the center of the shirt, aligning those seams evenly here and here, aligning the arm seams, your shoulder seams, and your collar. So I have some that I pre-folded. Now, I'd just like to say before we start cutting, I want you to make sure that you have some really nice sharp scissors. Cutting paper will dull your scissors real fast, so I like to label mine fabric and threaten to beat any who misuse them. And just a little pro tip, you want to be bold when you're making these cuts. Get them right the first time. Recutting a line or trying to trim the little imperfect edges on these t-shirts is a pain in the butt. So I have pinned mine just for convenience, but it's not necessary. I like to cut the bottom of the shirt first. So removing this hem will not only shorten a shirt that's way too long for you, it also relaxes the body of the tee to make it less snug and give it a little more drape. So I have 3 basic shapes that I like to use for the bottom hem. So cutting straight across, a line that curves into the side seam, like a smile, like this, or that curves down into a point on that side seam. The length is up to you, but I'm usually looking to remove somewhere between 2 and 4 inches. So let's just go ahead and make that cut. So straight across on this guy. My scissors are very sharp. That's super satisfying. Now I'll save all these bits because there's other things you can do with them. So we've cut just, that's a straight one. The other cut that I like to do is a curve, so let's do a curve. So here I've come up a little higher on the edge of the shirt. This looks to be about 6 inches, but in the center, it's only a 2-inch cut. So we've cut a nice curve here on this one. And then my favorite is to curve in the opposite direction. So this is my side seam, and I'm going to make a little point there. So I'm going to start high in the center. So the exact opposite of what I just did. All right, so those are the 3 different ways that you can cut those t-shirts. I'm going to just do one more real quick. This one we're going to do, again, this is my side seam, and I'm going to cut up into that, curling the bottom edge like an old-fashioned baseball shirt. Excellent. And again, I save all these scraps. I will use them for something later on. All right, so now if we're just turning this into a t-shirt to fit our curves better, we're going to also remove the band along the bottom of the sleeve. Let's do one of these bigger ones. So we're going to remove this sewn band. You can cut it at a more dramatic angle if you like a capped sleeve. So we want to make a capped sleeve on this one, and we'll cut a little bit more of that t-shirt off. So let me get those pins out of the way. Cutting them at the same time like this makes sure that you have a matching shirt, which is why I like to fold that in half before we start. So now I have a cute capped sleeve. If you don't want something so dramatic, again, you can just cut the band off. And this will leave you with a little more length if you don't want to expose all of your arms, but you can cut right along that seam. So we're not changing the shape at all. We're just loosening that sleeve. So it won't be so tight on your arm. So the next thing that we want to do to this t-shirt is to cut this neckline. You can cut the collar just following the hem here. I found that I often end up then with a neckline that's too big for me. Now this is no problem if you like the sexy shoulder reveal. So we'll just cut, I'm going to cut a little wider. And then as I come around the front, I'm staying pretty close to the bottom of that hem that was already existing, you can see there. But I did come a little ways out on the collar to make it a little bit more of a feminine fit. So now this shirt is done. Let's open that up and show you what you got. So now we have a cute shirt that's going to be a little more loosely fit for you, but this is quite a large neck. So I found a good trick to get a smaller neckline. So what we'll do with our other t-shirt, we're going to fold it, unpinning it so that I can fold it in a different way. So we're going to fold the shirt dividing between the front and the back. So previously I was folding right along the top through here in half, and now I'm going to open up that body of the shirt, stick my hands inside. This will make it easier. And I'm going to line up shoulder to shoulder. So here's the front of my shirt folded in half. I'm going to make sure my shoulder seams are lined up before I cut. and that everything is kind of flat. We don't want to cut through any wrinkles. All right, and now we're just going to cut along the band of the collar. So again, what this does is loosen that neckline for you, makes it a little more graceful, but it won't be as open a neck. So if we check that out, you can see there's still a little bit of the back of the shirt. So this one isn't going to fall off your shoulders if you're not into that punk rock, sexy shoulder look. All right, so now this is your new t-shirt. You're all done. The other thing you can do is make a tank top out of your t-shirts. Now this is great if you have shirts that are just way too big. So we've cut our bottoms already. That step is the same. And now we're going to remove the sleeves. So for a tank top, we're going to cut along the inside of that sleeve. I do like to come a little bit in from the shoulder by about an inch or two, but you'll want to be mindful of how far into the armpit you cut. The lower you cut, the more of your body is going to hang out of your tank. So if you go real low, you'll probably have to wear another tank underneath your tank. I'm going to get these pins out of the way. And again, we're going to get a nice line here because we're cutting through both at once. So I'm a little bit further away from that seam when I start, but then I'm aiming for the bottom of the sleeve, just so you can see how much I took off. So now we have kind of what looks like a muscle tank. You can stop here if you want. But what I like to do now is to cut those collars. Let's do one more just so we have a comparison. Where'd it go? Here we go. So here's the other one. We cut the bottom. So we're going to cut that sleeve off. And again, I'm going to come in a little bit from the shoulder. And then when I hit that armpit, I'm going to stay pretty high on that seam. All right, so now we have two. Now, we're going to cut the collar, as I said. And when I cut a tank neckline, we're going to leave the shirt folded in half. And I like to let the print help me decide the shape and the depth of that new neck. So if the print is really high, then I'll cut the collar a little bit higher as well. I try not to cut into the print. You also want to leave about a ½ inch above the print to account for the curling of the fabric, just so you'll still be able to see it all. And then I also use this outer line of the tank strap to help shape that neck. And I like a strap that's at least an inch wide. So let's go ahead and do this guy. So I want to avoid that. I'm going to start here. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a square neck. Let's get that pin out of the way. And hopefully I've missed the print on both sides. So now I can open it up and see what we got. Oh, that looks great. So now I have a nice new neckline. Let's go ahead and do the other one. So this one, the print is kind of even higher. This is a bit of a smaller tee, so I think I'm going to cut that with a skinnier strap and a higher neckline. So here I'm just staying closer to that collar. Let's get that pin out so we can open it up and show you. So this neckline's a little bit different than that first one, but it's got a nice kind of gentle curve and some skinnier straps. All right, so for a tank top, you might find that the size and look of your shirt is now perfect, but if not, I have one last trick for you. This will make a tank top a little more fitted and fun. So we're going to fold our tee along the center line, front and back, like we did for the collar, the other one. And when you make this fold, you want to make sure that your side seams are lined up as best you can. I like to lay it out and kind of check my straps that those are also even. as best you can. I'm going to pick it up and give it one more shake. So we're working on the back. I don't worry a lot about what's happening with the front right now. All right, so if my print forced me to make kind of a higher neck, as on this one, you have an opportunity now that it's folded this way. You can cut a little bit more here so you have a deeper back. This is optional, but sometimes those prints run real high and you might want a sexier cut in the back. Now, we're going to place our ruler on a diagonal on the center line of the back of the tee. Here at the top, I'll start about 3 or 4 inches away from that edge, and then we cross the bottom of the tee about 10 inches at the 10-inch mark. We're going to cut slits every 1/2 inch to 1 inch. How many slits you cut is up to you. So let's go ahead and cut those slits. I'm going to cut all the way to the ruler, and I'm going to try and make these as straight as I can. My cutting is not as bold today as I have advised you to be. So I do have some little bits hanging out. But we're going to just make those slits. And once you get to where your slit is only a little 1/2 inch cut, that's good. We can stop there. So now we have this cool open back. And if you started with a t-shirt that is not super big for you, this might be enough and fun as it is. But if your t-shirt was enormous, this next step, a little fancy braid work, will shrink it even more and shape it. So I'm going to take my hanger here and I'm going to clip my tank top to it. This will help me keep it in place as I stretch and pull it. So I've got some binder clips. I'm just going to clip the straps to the hanger. All right, kind of pulling that taut and even. So we're going to start at the neckline. We're going to pull this first strip up to stretch it a little bit, and then we're going to lay it over the next strip and grab that guy. Pull it, grab the next one, pull that guy. Can you see what I'm doing, y'all? This is kind of a dark shirt. So I've got a loop and I'm going to reach in there. Let's get you lined up with the camera. All right, so I've got this loop. I'm going to pull that up and I'm going to reach and grab the next loop. Pull it through, lay it over, grab the next loop. And continuing on all the way down. So you're essentially sliding one loop of t-shirt material through the next. So now I've reached that last loop. I would normally, at this point, I would binder clip that, but it looks like I do not have another one. Grab this guy. So you just want to hold that in place, and then you can take a look at that shirt, and you'll notice it starts to kind of, it's coming in, it's giving it a little bit of a waistline. And you can stop here again if you like the look of this, or you can continue to braid. So I've got some space here. I'm gonna repeat that process. I'm gonna grab the top loop, fold it over, and grab the one underneath. We're just gonna keep doing that. This is gonna pull our shirt in even a little bit tighter, and this accentuates your curves. And it's really great for a shirt that is a little on the big side. All right, so now I've gotten to that last loop my binder clip was on. I'm gonna grab that guy. And to finish this, you see I've got a tiny little fishtail loop pulled through there. You can stitch it at this point. I'm going to go ahead and I've snipped it, and I'm going to tie a little knot, and that'll hold everything in place. All right, so you'll notice now that my tank top is really dipping in nicely. And on a body, that's gonna hang really nice and pretty. It's got some folds here on the back, folds in, tucks in at your waist, and it's probably a full size smaller now than when we started. All right, so to finish up, I like to stretch all the seams in the shirts. Knit fabric will roll a little bit on the edges when you pull it, and then it won't unravel. So there's no need for new hems or sergers on any of these shirts. So I just take them and I'm not gentle with them. So to stretch out those seams, I'll pull here. So I've grabbed both of the straps and I'm gonna pull, and you'll see that you get a nice curved line here. Let's try with a brighter t-shirt, y'all. So I'm gonna grab those straps and give it a nice pull. And now I have a little curved edge here. We're not gonna get any fraying there, so it's real nice. You don't have to worry about finishing that edge at all. Do the same down here. And then if you've done some braiding work on the back, I like to give that a nice little tug too, because it'll open up in different ways, which you'll see if you try. So while you don't have to restitch those hems, I do like to go over the areas just a little where I've cut through the seams of the t-shirt. So for instance, on the straps, here I have one that's done. And to do this, you can use a sewing machine if you have one. Going back and forth with a zigzag stitch is nice. Or you could do a little sweet stitching with some embroidery thread. And really I'm folding over that edge and just grabbing it with a little stitch on either side. And I'll do a little stitch here in the underarm, and then a little stitch at the base of the shirt, just where we cut into those hems. Again, that step is optional, but it'll make sure that your new shirt holds together. So y'all, these are so much fun to make. I just love it when I can bring something back from the dead. I really have to be careful with this though. If I don't pay attention, before I know it, I've emptied out the entire box of Goodwill donations. Well, I hope you guys have fun out there customizing your summer wardrobe with some new takes on old favorites. Thanks so much for watching. This is Alice, signing off from our Summer Avenue Clubhouse. See you soon.